What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. It is hotter and muggier than Satan's armpit out today, and so I figured, well, I'm not going to be working in the garden, so why not do a harvest video? And since it's been quite a long time since we've done a harvest video, I figured, let's do one today. And so, because I don't want to spend any time actually working in the garden, harvesting is not really work to me. And plus it's fairly easy, and it's been a long time since we've done one, and I know a lot of you love to see our harvest videos. So behind me I've got my garlic. Now we planted this garlic last fall. We planted it around mid to late October. It was a little bit later that we got it in the ground, but as you can tell, no ill effects whatsoever. We got it in the ground about 2 weeks before our first frost, and still no ill effects. Even though it didn't germinate and sprout before the first frost came, they sat dormant in the soil, and then when spring came and the snow melted, they popped up just fine. And as you can see, well, I did pick a few for some friends that came over. We were harvesting some of the last of the strawberries and sending them home with some strawberries, because it's so much fun to share when you have an abundance of harvest. It's so much fun to see, the smile on people's faces to enjoy what you get to enjoy on a daily basis. That's what we're all about, and that's what we love to do. And so we were out here harvesting some strawberries, and they were asking about the garlic. And they said, well, oh man, we really wanted to plant some garlic, but we didn't have time. And so I said, let's harvest some, and you guys can take some home. And spoiler alert, they were huge. They were definitely ready to pull. So last year we tried something new that we've never done here on the channel, and that's planting garlic 2 inches apart between plants. Now, we practice something on this channel called high intensity spacing. And high intensity spacing is based off the premise that when you have very fertile soil, you can grow plants closer together because there's less for them to compete. So less nutrients, and the moisture holding capabilities of the soil is improved. And ultimately what they end up doing is shading out the soil, which reduces stress and evaporation and crowding from weeds and other stuff like that. And so you can grow more plants in less space. And that's something we've done with pretty much every crop we've ever grown. But we started spacing them out about 3 years ago. We started spacing them out about 3 inches apart, because typical spacing, they say about 6 inches between plants. And so we said, okay, well, for high intensity spacing, we're gonna take that 6 inches and we're gonna cut it in half. We always half the spacing just to start. We start with 3 inches, and we saw no ill effects with 3-inch spacing. So then we said, okay, well, let's try 2.5-inch spacing. And that was, well, 2 years ago, last year's harvest essentially, because we plant in the fall. So 2 years ago we planted 2.5-inch spacing, and last year when we harvested, no ill effects whatsoever. In fact, incredible garlic harvest. We got about a third more, so about 30% more garlic in a bed. And so we said, all right, well, let's go for 2 inches. And so really what we're trying to do is just see what that threshold is. Because obviously, as we continue to increase the spacing, as we continue to crowd them, at a certain point, it will reach a tipping point. And we want to find out what that tipping point is. We want to see, how close can we get it before we start seeing those negative results, because until we do, we know that we can keep planting them closer as long as we keep everything consistent. We keep the soil nice, we keep the fertilizer nice, and we keep them well watered, or we get a lot of rain, stuff like that. And as long as we can keep those stressors down and the plant's happy and they keep producing, well, there's no sense in increasing the spacing. Decrease it, decrease the spacing, and crowd them in closer. And so we'll see what we get this year. But based on what I harvested already, I'd say we're doing pretty good. So, all right, let's start pulling. And yeah, I'm excited. All right, it's always fun to pull things in the ground because they're just like carrots, carrots, potatoes, stuff like that. You never know what you're going to get when you pull them up. But what I can say is a lot of people ask, Luke, how do you know your garlic is ready to harvest? And you look for 2 things. You look for what's called a softened neck. Now, this is the neck of the garlic. Now there's hard neck and soft neck, but both will begin to turn a little bit soft when the time to harvest them comes. Now the second thing you look for, other than just kind of a softer neck, it'll turn kind of spongy to the touch. But you also look for about 50% of the plant to be dying back. A lot of these plants here have their lower leaves that are already turning brown and kind of wilting, and the top leaves are still green. You don't want to let them die completely back like a potato or like an onion, because if you do, the problem is that your cloves are going to hold on to too much moisture, and they're going to be in the soil for too long, and you're going to have cracking. Now, cracking happens when they kind of rupture open and they split, and that really cuts down on the shelf life of your garlic. So it's best to harvest them early because they're not going to do a whole lot more growing right now. A lot of people ask, well, if you left them in the ground another 2 weeks or so, or you give them a lot of water, is that going to help them out any? And it really doesn't. It really doesn't at all. Most of the growing happens in the early spring, and the maturing happens in early summer. And then, like I said, by about 4th of July, mid-July, we're harvesting. So not a whole lot more growing is going to happen. But those are the two things we look for. And yeah, let's go. Ooh, very nice. So one thing that we did do as a quick tip here, I always got to throw in some tips here. So there's hardneck and softneck. The hardneck varieties form what's called a scape. And these scapes are a long flower stalk that forms. Now softnecks won't do this. Now scapes are these. These are scapes. We harvested these and we pulled these off, and you can actually eat these. These are edible and they're very delicious. So we'll pick these off, and they kind of taste almost like an asparagus crossed with an onion. Very fantastic grilled up, and they're delicious. But we pulled off the scapes about a week ago, and that way the scapes were off of the plant, and it helped to revert any energy left into forming a bulb. And so that is something that we do just as a maintenance, as kind of a maintenance step to increasing the size of our bulbs. Oh, this is a huge soft neck. Oh yeah, oh my gosh. Oh heck yeah. This is like the size of a baseball. Oh my goodness. Absolutely massive. Just incredible. Now we did grow all this garlic from our seed garlic that we sell over at MIgardener.com. If you're interested in getting this stuff, you can pick it up at our website, but we are sold out until, well, in about 2 to 2.5 months, we'll have it back in stock. And we get it from a local garlic grower, all organic, all heirloom, really amazing stuff. And as you can see, they produce great quality heads. So we are super excited for this year's garlic sale. And I think we're going to be adding on a couple new heirloom varieties this year as well. But definitely, like I said, get your hands on some and plant it, because it's such a great crop to grow, you guys. A lot of you have asked me, Luke, what's the best crop to grow if I'm looking to save a lot of money in my garden and I don't have a lot of space? Honestly, garlic. All day, every day. One head of garlic in our store, one organic head of garlic, roughly about this size, so not a big size at all, just a modest size head of garlic, is around 75 cents a head. That is insane. Now, some of these are obviously much smaller than I prefer, but you do get that when you plant garlic, because the thing is that the cloves on the outside of the head produce larger plants than the cloves on the inside of the garlic head. And because I don't like to let anything go to waste, I plant all the cloves. Now, ideally, I would select the healthiest, largest cloves to grow my garlic, but because I didn't really want any to go to waste, I just planted whatever I had. And as you can see, I mean, huge difference. Oh wow, that's the biggest head of garlic yet. That sucker is huge, absolutely giant. Wow, that's fantastic. They don't get a whole lot bigger than that, honestly. That's that's about as big as they can, biologically get. I haven't seen too many that are bigger than that. That is absolutely massive. Some of these smaller ones here, it's funny because the whole head is about as big as a single clove, but I don't mind. Again, homegrown is so much better than anything from the store, so I'll take it. You just got to eat those first because they won't have as long of a shelf life, because the skin on them will be much less thick, and the thicker the skin, the thicker the paper on them, the more moisture it holds in, and they stay fresher longer. So that's why a nice big head of garlic is actually going to last a little longer than a super small head, but absolutely incredible. And also another thing to note too is the pH of your soil. We apply Trifecta Plus over top of our whole bed when we planted our garlic, and we do that because the pH, if it's slightly acidic, it actually helps to increase the shelf life of your onion, or of your garlic and your onions. If you have slightly acidic pH, it's actually going to cause your garlic to be slightly more spicy, hotter garlic, but that also means that there's a higher sulfur content in your garlic, and the higher sulfur content in your alliums means the longer the shelf life. Just a little tip for you guys. Oh my goodness. Wow, these are just so beautiful. Absolutely incredible. Oh my goodness. Just incredible. Wow. Wow, you guys. Oh my gosh. All organic. All organic, baby. You cannot beat it. Check it out. I'll tell you, there's no vampires that ever come into my garden. That's the one pest that wouldn't dare step foot. And whoa. Wow. Holy smokes. This right here is the biggest head of garlic I've ever grown. That right there is probably close to 3 inches in diameter. Look at that. That sucker is, this is the biggest head of garlic I've ever grown. Completely organic, all heirloom. Wow. Absolutely wow, you guys. Wow. That is, I mean, that is the size of like a baseball. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull the rest of these because I'm turning into a piece of bacon out here. And so because I don't wanna get a sunburn and fry, I'm gonna harvest the rest of these off camera, but I'll show you what I get when I'm all done. Wow. Even though I said I wasn't coming out here to work, that was a lot of work because that was a lot of garlic. Wow. 2-inch spacing, organic fertilizer, compost, planted in fall, heirloom garlic, nothing special. That's everything that I did. If you want to really know how I grow things, step by step, you can check out our garlic growing guide, but I didn't do anything special. And I'll tell you what, this is the most garlic we've ever grown, hands down, by looking at it, not by necessarily weighing it, but by looking at it, at least 30 to 40% more. I mean, this is just outstanding. This is absolutely insane. I've never seen this much garlic from just, 30, 38, 40 square feet. Just insane. Wow. I mean, this is just the hardnecks. Oh gosh. And the hardnecks, this alone is probably, I would say, the tops don't really count, but total weight, that's probably close to 30 pounds of total plant weight. And that wasn't even everything. There's another 3-4 pounds right there. So, wow, that's insane. And then there's all the soft necks, and the soft necks were they were obscenely large this year, in a good way. So I'm so happy with today's harvest. I'm so happy with this, the way this year has been going. The way it started out, I wasn't too sure we were gonna have much luck, but I'll tell you what, it's been great. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. I really do hope that you try growing garlic yourself. If you do want to learn more, like I said, we have complete growing guides on it. Lots of years of growing this. You can watch back past years, see how we did it, compare the results that we got when it came to harvesting time. But like I said, this is probably one of the easiest crops to grow. Plant it in the fall, really amend your soil well, keep it nice and rich, water it well in the early spring, get it growing, keep it hydrated during the hot summer sun, don't let it stress out, and you end up with baseball-sized garlic. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. All right, I'll catch you guys later. I'm gonna go inside, get some water, stay hydrated, it's important, and we'll catch you all later. Grow big or go home, everyone. Bye. One last quick little note. So I know a lot of you ask after I harvest, how do you prepare it? How do you process it and get it ready for the off season? What we're gonna do is we're gonna lay this out. We're gonna lay it out nice and dry. We have a video on how to cure garlic. I'd recommend checking that video out. But we basically just lay this out one layer thick. We lay it out for a couple weeks and let it get nice and dry. We'll cut off some of the roots. We'll cut off the tops. We'll leave about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of neck left on the garlic there. But like I said, I got a whole video on how to do that. But it's very important that you don't aggressively wash this stuff. You really don't want to wash it and wash off too much of the paper and scuff it up too much, because that will affect the shelf life. So just make sure you just brush off the soil very lightly, keep it nice and dry, set it out in the sun, or not in the sun, set it in the shade, I should say, outside where it's nice and ventilated, for about 2 weeks, and you're gonna be golden. So, all right, I hope you guys enjoyed. See you later.